Fox, and I hope to be your favorite psychic spy. Why do I start with that? When for some people it's such a negative. I was in a secret program. I never got compensated. I never got asked. I was put in since I was born. I learned a lot of stuff. But because I understand now, not then, that life is not just this incarnation, life is not just now, and that life is driven by intentions, and that my intentions for now were to learn as much as possible, to expand my vision in other dimensions in order to be able to acquire information to share. It's my mission. You all have a mission. That doesn't make me a saint or a wonderful person. In a sense, in many times, it made me kind of dumb that I would position myself like that. But you have to widen your lens, wider lens, bigger picture. What was that all about? It was about my intentions. So this is the most fascinating time in human history. And I need to go back and ask my friends, the dolphins, the animals. I have to ask them about this because I don't want to have to take the time to figure it out, piecing the pieces of the puzzle together. But there's something about this time that is magical and very different. And there's been other times that the planet has reached a really high level and then it has been trashed. And hopefully this time we've reached a high level, certainly in technology we have, and hopefully we won't crash this time. So here we are, not quite sure what it is that we should be doing minute by minute, but knowing that we are at a point of critical mass. Now, let's talk about mission for just a second. As I tell my followers, you're not dumb. You're not a victim. You didn't choose to come into a lifetime and then go, oh my God, what is this? You chose to come into a lifetime where before you knew it was going to be very difficult. And you're actually a pretty good person that you would have chosen this, that you would have chosen to be here now to help out. And I tell them, which is what my sister told me 30 or 40 years ago, I'm so sorry, but my collar just is not working. And I hope it doesn't ruin the chat because I get really crazy about my necklines because that's where I'm most invaded, in my neck. Let's see if I can make this work. Okay. If I had somebody who dressed me, this would not be an issue. Unfortunately, I do everything myself. Okay. So my sister told me 40 years ago, when I started with my therapy about the tortures and the rapes and she said, you chose this. And I said, look, listen, nobody is this dumb to choose this. It's just, you know what? I'm really not that dumb. And she said, yeah, you did. And I was like, okay, great. I did. And you did too. Now, the mantra that I'm going to recommend, if you like, we can do it later. And it's, please God, help me with my intention to align with my miraculously prosperous mission. And you will notice that after doing it several times, you're going to kind of relax about your life. It's almost like that particular mantra gives you faith that everything is going to be okay. Yesterday, I was very open about what was going on. Today's a solstice and today's a full moon in Capricorn, and it's supposed to be a really powerful full moon. It's a strawberry moon, but that has no meaning because it was apparently during the time when you would pick strawberries. But I had a group that was, maybe still is, planning some kind of massive black magic attack, but there was some angle of it that was going to be physical. And I talked about it yesterday, and I did call the mayor of the city of Coral Gables, and he responded very kindly and said to take care of myself and that they would watch out for me, which is good, really, really good, because you see, for too long, people have thought that I was disposable, that I was crazy, and they could just simply brush things off. and it would never catch up with him. And I'm not saying he responded because this would catch up with him. What I'm saying is that I was given the proper attention that I should have been given to this situation, because if this situation explodes, a lot of people are going to be hurt. We don't need for things to end as badly as they would have ended at other times in human history. It can end much better. The endings can be much prettier. They can be much more beautiful. Light and dark can hold hands now. But we haven't been taught that, so we cannot even imagine. So, did anything happen yesterday? Well, I barricaded my back door because it has glass, and I felt that if anything, they might want to break the glass to be able to give it to the bolt, whatever. I don't have lights in my backyard, minimally, because for mysteriously some reason nothing happened. Today was fine. I don't think anything will happen today. And I think that simply standing up and saying, I really don't, and I don't care if people think I'm crazy, but I don't really care if I irritate my enemies even more. I think, and because we're in a solstice and a full moon is endings, I think I may have hit a sweet spot having to do with my situation. But what about you? Are you aware of the new moons, the full moons, the solstice, the eclipses? I love it when people talk about the eclipses. Oh, we got to see the eclipse, and there's going to be an eclipse over Texas, and it passes over twice, rather than going, oh my God, what's going on with Texas that they would need 2 eclipses? So you need to get yourself studied up. You need to get up to date on planetary influences. We talk about the ETs that are coming in. Well, they come from off planet. Okay. We talk about, we know the effect of the moon on the tides. Okay. And we know that the moon affects human behavior to the point where murder rate goes up dramatically. And people also get crazy dramatically. And women who have troubles with their menstrual cycle, which I did when I was young, know that if it's that time of the month coinciding with full moon, that it's going to be so much worse. So there's influences there. So are you taking that into consideration when you're making your plans, when you're signing deals, when you're setting up meetings? I decided today to allow someone to know some big plans that I have, in the hope that they would join me, and they were very receptive. So when I went to do a mantra session, which I do with some crystal bowls and some music, I thought, oh my God, okay, I told him today, so is that a good day to have told him? It's okay, because we're not coming to an agreement today. And it's only happening because the relationship we had before is ending, which was a very iffy relationship. I had become aware since I met the person that we were going to do something spectacular together. And of course, that person was like, you just want something from me. Yeah, I do. What I want from you is something that we kind of knew we were going to do in this incarnation at this time. But of course, that was in one ear and out the other. They seem to be listening now. And today was not a bad day to say, let's get together. And they were very happy with it. And we're not getting together in a full moon, because that would be endings. We're getting together in a couple of days. So that will be kind of okay. But we actually should have, and I don't have it, a full moon calendar to where we would know where we're at in the moon, and we would make our decisions accordingly, because the farmers do that and it really works. And I think that the people that go out to sea for fishing, they probably know exactly when the tides are going to be high and when they're going to be low, because it's going to affect their catch, their pocketbook, their ability to fish, to bring in a good catch. But that's the case with all of us, but we don't see it because we're not as connected to nature as sailors are or as farmers are. The reason they know that is because they have a lot more quiet time, and they're paying more attention, and it's a belief system that's been passed down for generations from their families and their coworkers, if that's what you call it. Those who work with them in that same, you can't call it an industry. So you should become aware. I became aware too late that I had started a radio show many, many years ago that was really successful in terms of people loving it, totally unsuccessful in terms of business, and it wasn't able to continue. And an astrologer said, "You started it at a terrible time. You have no support." And I thought, she was right. So these unseen factors you could consider magical because you can't see them, you don't know them, but they're not magical in a sense that you can anticipate them. You can actually use a calendar and document when they're going to happen. But for somebody that's not aware of that, it could be like, oh my God, it was magical. It was so different this time. Well, where was the moon? And I'm not that familiar with this. I'm giving you information without being an expert in that. I do horoscopes every week. And I'm not an astrologer. I do them with my remote viewing skills. And the horoscopes that I do have to do with the evolution of your spirit, which is your astral emotional body. And the kind of horoscopes that I do is not where I tell you, you're going to have something great happen and be careful, you could have a car accident. It's not the kind of horoscopes I do because that's very much attached to the physical dimension, what happens to your physical body. And that's really not where I'm at because the physical body is disposable. You dispose of it at the end of each lifetime when your physical body dies, but your spirit doesn't. The spirit world is very interesting. Magic, 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 magic. I have had so many people come up to me, their spirit, they're still alive, their physical body, and they'll come up to me and say, you know what, I think I'm leaving. I can't take it anymore. And generally these have been older people. 6 months later, they're still there. Their spirit body is emotional. At that point, they were in some kind of a crisis and they wanted to leave, die, for the physical body to die. And then it doesn't happen because emotionally they had a change. So your spirit is all about emotions, okay? All about emotions. Somebody on the chat is saying that the horoscopes were right on point, especially Capricorns. A lot of people tell me, oh my God, how's that possible? I don't know if I'm getting more accurate or if people are able to hear me more or if they're more in contact with their internal processes that having to do with their spirit, which has to do with their emotions. So your emotional body is your spirit. It's the part of you that detaches every night for astral travel. And it is the part of you that when your physical body dies, it detaches for the last time from that physical body that's disposable anyway. And it kind of hangs out, I don't know where. And then whenever you reincarnate, that's waiting to enter into the assemblage of bodies, which would be the newborn child. The whole trick about abortions and whether they're bad or they're not bad, whether you're actually killing another human being or not because they're not born yet, that really needs to be investigated, having to do with when the spirit comes in, yet that spirit can trolley on out in 2 seconds flat. What does that mean about abortion? I don't know. But guess what? We should investigate that rather than accusing people of things or doing things based on incomplete information. When somebody is declared dead and then several minutes later or hours later, it turns out that they're breathing and they're alive, they weren't really dead because the body that I showed you yesterday, that's the blue color grid, that doesn't die for 72 hours. Your physical body stops breathing and you are still alive. And that's very painful for people like me when you get somebody like Anna Nicole, when she died years ago. And I really didn't know that much about her, but it was in all the news and I kind of felt sorry for her. I think we all did. And they did an autopsy within hours. And I was like, oh my God, don't do that. Don't do that. Wait. I'm not saying she would have come back. I'm not saying that at all. But she wasn't, she, you, they are not dead yet. And it's just too many people. And supposedly before, when they would bury you and there'd be a little bell inside the coffin. And you could ring the bell if you happened to wake up because you weren't really dead and you were buried before you were dead. Because they thought you were dead because your body stopped breathing. But stopping, not breathing, is not a sign of death to people that understand the other dimensions. So, what else are we doing that is so totally wrong that if we knew it, we would stop doing it? I don't know. What I do know is that you need to open your lens to those other dimensions because it's always been there. It's always a part of you. It's what religion tries to deal with and to teach us. A little aside, and maybe it's not an aside. Scientology, which is very powerful organization and very bullying from what I understand, really knows about spirits. And I've told the story before, but a lot of you are new. I wrote my first video many years ago was 5 minutes long, and it only had one concept, which is that voice in your head, not necessarily yours. And I showed it to actually a rabbi friend of mine, and I showed it to a Buddhist monk. I used to have a lot of very spiritual people around me. Now I don't have anybody around me because of the persecution. I don't want to complicate other people's lives with my situation, but that's going to change very quickly. Very quickly and very nicely. So I showed them both my little video, and they were not together, separate. They didn't know each other, and they both looked at me like this and said, "You're going to put this out?" And I looked at him and I said, "Yes." I knew it was accurate. I don't have to ask somebody if it's accurate or not. Not having to do with things like that because I know it is. I said, "What's the problem?" "Oh no, you're going to really do that?" "Yes, I'm going to do that." Turns out that Scientology sells that same concept for tens of thousands of dollars. According to someone who helped me with the video, who used to be according to him, a big deal Scientologist, and he left. And he said, "This is funny. $17.95 is what you're charging. Scientologist charges tens of thousands of dollars for this same information." The point is not that they have the same information I have. The point is that they have understood how to turn people that are doing okay into extremely powerful people with that kind of information. So you might want to remember that and watch me more often because a lot of what I'm going to teach you is going to make a huge difference in your business. Magic. You have an organization, and give me a second, because I do believe that most of the people in the chat are not really aware that this is in English and they want me to answer particular questions, which I'm not going to do at this point, even though I think I will start to open myself up to questions from you as soon as somebody who's not part of my Mantrista movement asks questions, because we spend hours together a week, and so they don't need this additional time. Maybe you do. So when you have a business, you need to know about astrology. Why? Because all the astrological signs have different inclinations, characteristics, strengths, and weaknesses. If you're like me, I'm a Cancer, home, family. I want to be comfortable with the people that I'm with. I want them to be just like me. A Cancer would want their home, their life to be really small, all revolving around the home, and everybody comes to their home, and it's all about the home and the kids and the family and getting together with people you feel good with. You cannot do that in business. You need balance. So I used to hire everybody that was like a water sign, because Cancer is a water sign. Water is emotions in metaphysics. That's not good. I should have hired people that were earth signs, which have more to do with structure and consistency and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A Cancer would want to do 1, 2. Oh, I like 2. Let's keep doing 2 because this feels really good. No, I should have had more earth sign people. I should have had an earth sign type accountant. In terms of salespeople, I don't remember what their astrological signs were, but certainly you would want somebody that is like a fire sign that can move a lot and that does not get affected by emotions. Because I used to sell couture evening wear and bridals, and everybody's very emotional. So if you get a salesperson who's a water sign, there's a great bonding, but they take too long in the bonding. Come on, we're here about buying a dress. We're not here about what your boyfriend did to you or what his mother did to you right before the wedding. A fire sign would be okay with that for a couple of minutes, and then let's move on to the task at hand, which is to choosing your dress. So the astrological signs are important even in terms of sales. Now, if you get all these fire signs on your sales staff, you're going to have a lot of fighting because they're all fire. And fire gets irritated and cranky, and they're not so diplomatic a lot of times, unless they're a Leo. You need to know the specifics. If you want forward thinking, new, the air signs, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra. You want to go out and pick up a bigger public and have them be happy, get yourself a Libra. You want something innovative and you want somebody that can really think and novel, Aquarius. But you can't have all air signs because if you had all air signs, the whole team would be like space cadets, thinking. Hello, who's going to do the stuff? Who's going to take care of the client that's crying in the corner? So you need a balance. So I didn't know that. So I didn't do that. I was very successful in business, but that was in spite of me. And I remember I went to visit somebody once and they had these wonderful books and they had a real thick book that was written by a business person. And basically this thick book was saying what I'm saying now, except it took forever to say it. Because if you don't have the basic concept really handled, then you have to go on and on and on to get there. Basically, it was saying you need a balanced team and they can't all be the same. But they didn't believe in astrology. So they had to describe it 1,000 different ways. If they knew astrology, they would say, if you got a big team, you need a lot of earth sign, you need a lot of air sign, you need a lot of fire sign, and you need a lot of water sign. And don't put your air sign perhaps in your bookkeeping department. And when it comes to your PR, because clients can get really crazy, have a lot of water signs there because they'll spend an hour with you if you're crying without a problem. A fire sign won't. It's like 5 minutes. Hey, let's get over with it. Let's do something now. Okay, let's walk off these tears. That doesn't work for a water sign. So you don't need to go and take courses. You don't need to learn that much. I'm going to show you something right now, which is very quick and very easy. And these are things that you could call magic. It's like, how do you do that? Well, it actually is based on information. And then the choices are based on intention. So here's a little bit of magic. We all know that male and female, and let's forget the whole thing with bisexual and trans and all the rest of that, because that changes everything. And I have not made my updates on that. You have 4 different elements. Okay? You have earth. And then you have air. And you have fire. These are the elements having to do with the elements. But the astrological signs all have an element. And here is water. Okay, what most people don't know is that these air and fire are male signs. Male. And these are female signs. So when they talk about astrological incompatibility, it's when you go over this line between male and female. When you're a male air sign, such as a Gemini or an Aquarius, and you try to get together with an earth sign that's a female sign, First, earth and air, hard time mixing. That's simple. So as you see, the stuff is really, when you get to the bottom line, it's really very simple. So you get earth and you get air, and they get married. They're going to have all the issues of the misunderstandings between male and female, which we all know are huge. Then you have the issue of somebody whose characteristics are based on movement, flighty, move away. That's how they react to things, movement, and up in the air, not grounded. With somebody who is grounded and landed and rooted and does not like change, air signs love change, you're getting an incredible incompatibility. So it makes the marriage or the relationship or the business relationship harder. So it's not that you shouldn't pair off that way, it's that you need to know what you're getting into. And as I always say, in my family, we were all female signs. My husband and my son were earth, and my daughter and I are water. Earth and water get together really well. So when we went to separate, my husband and I, it was pretty graceful, the separation, because we kind of understood each other. If there had been a crossing of the line, if I, as a water, had been with air, there would have been a lot more trauma because we wouldn't have understood basic things about each other. Even if it was 22 years, that's the length of time I was married. And worse than this has to do with your kids. If all of you and your wife are over on this side of the line, you're female astrologically, and your kids are male, it's hard on the kids. And I learned that when I took care of all those autistic kids in the 90s. The compatibility astrologically makes everything so much easier. It's not that you should not pair off outside of this. It's not that you shouldn't cross the line. On the contrary, we need to. But it makes it harder. You really have to be patient and you have to widen your lens to be able to understand. So then go to a work team. Go to a work team where everybody's male, and then you decide on a manager that you really like because they're very organized and grounded and they like to do things until it gets done right. And you get them a Virgo earth sign to manage a team full of people that are fire and air. Not fun. But you can know this in advance with this information, which are planetary influences, which are galactic influences. Being it that we are now supposedly part of the galactic family, no longer isolated as a planet and protected from other galactic forces that know more than we do, their technology is more advanced, their intentions are different, maybe we should pay more attention to this very subtle and a lot of times very helpful information. When we talk about science today, we're talking about a prostituted inclination. An inclination to use science, which by definition in the dictionary is to observe and draw conclusions. It's been prostituted to back up what the person who's paying for the studies wants as a conclusion. That's not science. That's really a prostitution of science. But there has been science since the planet started because there have been people that have been observing human behavior and influences since the planet started. And yet we don't respect that. I think it's very telling that when I took care of all those autistic children, 5 of them were no longer autistic after working with me. Did I say they were not autistic? No. Their doctor said it because if I said it, it was worthless. The mothers did the things that I asked. I did give them healings. I sent them for a lot of spirit release therapy. All autistic kids have tons of spirits attached. So do you, and you're healthy. So why wouldn't they? They do. Those are all the violent changes in their faces and their behavior, the tantrums to where the face is like, oh my God. Whenever you get that face change, that is a spirit that is basically taken over the kid. It's not just autism, but right now we're talking about autism. But as I said yesterday, I believe I said yesterday, and I've said many times, I quit that because the parents, no, it was always the mothers, not the fathers, would do what I said, even though it was outside of their comfort zone and it wasn't anything weird. I mean, spirit release therapy has been around since the planet started. Um, the Catholic Church calls it exorcism, and they really make it very dramatic. Spirit release therapy we do, and that we used to send somebody, these kids, to have done was really elegant compared to what you see in the movies. You don't need all that screaming. You don't need those confrontations with the spirit. My God. Maybe they like that so that less people will do it and people will be scared of spirits instead of kind of learning how to deal with them. But anyway, the thing that turned me off and made me decide I wasn't going to go and continue to work with autism, which is a very depressing situation, autism takes down a whole family, um, was because the mothers didn't tell anybody why their child was, why the doctor said their child was no longer autistic. They were afraid of the medical profession and they were afraid of society. So, what am I doing in the middle of something to where everybody's afraid to say, I found something that appears to work, at least for my child? I said, I'm getting out of here. I don't need to be here. My mission does not include just taking care of children or taking care of sick people. My mission includes setting up the protocols so that other people follow them once we establish that this actually works. And it does work. But today's different, autism. So don't send me anybody autistic. Today's different. There are different influences. There's more technological influences, and nobody's willing to deal with that. So they basically reject that it could possibly be an influence. So magic, magic, magic. It's around you. It's available to you, but it's in the other dimensions. It's not on the physical. In order for you to move an object without lifting up your arm or using some kind of a vehicle to lift it up, you have to do magic. But you can't do that kind of magic on the physical dimension. So if you want to be magical, if you want to work with the superpowers that we're all supposed to be able to work with now, then you have to be able to work in the other dimensions. That's not that difficult. And it's your belief system that is really, 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 really holding you back. So that's why we're here every day, Monday through Friday, for an hour or 45 minutes to see if we can't get you less frightened or less unfamiliar with the other dimensions. And when people say, well, but all this stuff, yes, there's a lot of stuff there. But when you go out in the streets of a city, there's a lot going on. You got crazy people and dumb people, and you got people that have just gotten out of bed and they're still half asleep. And so they're walking around like a little bit, but it's only because they are still not quite fully awake. And then you got people that are on drugs, and then you got really nice people, but that are stuck in their heads because they had a problem at home. So they're kind of thinking, so they kind of look like space cadets, but they're really nice people, and they, they have a good job, they have nice homes, but they kind of like, what's the matter with them? They're worried about something. You have that, and then you have the physical dimension, the physical stuff, the storefronts, the house, and then you have the animals. It's a lot of stuff. Well, there's a lot of stuff in the other dimensions. And in the other dimensions, it's not just like one other dimension. And then there's no time. Talk about magic. I was with a friend of mine today, but I'll tell the long version of the story, which I need to make short because I've really talked. I had a past life with somebody, end of the Second World War. And it ended very gracefully for the group that I was in, but not for me. And part of the ending was that I was Jewish and I was a prisoner of the Gestapo in southern Italy. So they were retreating from southern Italy because the war was basically over. But my people, the Jewish people, were going to the coast, and they were going to go off to Israel, actually. But I wasn't going to be going with them because that's what the Gestapo decided. So that's the way that lifetime ended. And then several years after that, I was doing like a session, like a meditative session with a group of people. And that lifetime came up, except this time, one of the people that was there doing the meditation also that didn't know anything about this lifetime, my lifetime, didn't know it. In that lifetime, he was in that lifetime, but he did not know it. I had never shared that. He went ahead and he changed the ending so that I ended up going with the group to catch the boat in Salerno, port town, at the end of the Second World War. So I didn't die with the Gestapo. So you go, oh, that's interesting. Well, no, it's really interesting because past lives influence today. That lifetime changed today. Got it? And you go, yeah, okay, no, yeah. And when you go back to a past life, and you generally do because you've got a problem today and you want to kind of understand it, when you go back to it, that automatically takes the charge out of that trauma from that lifetime that you went back to because it was traumatic today because you're repeating the pattern. So human beings are so different from what we think we are. Carolyn Meese is very good. She's really tough. She's tougher than me. She's tough. I think she used to be a nun. She's tough. And I remember her saying something to the effect of, all we do is repeat patterns. And I thought, oh my God, why would she say that about us humans? We're so interesting and we're so forget free choice. All we do is repeat patterns. If you're doing something terrible today or something terrible happens to you, you did it in a lot of other lifetimes. You're just repeating, repeat, and with the same people. Why would we do that? Because we want to make a change. And you can, but you don't have to make it today. You can make it today. But that's hard. It's much easier to go back to the past lifetime and change it there. And then all of a sudden you come to today and the change either already happened, or it's much easier. Yeah, I know. You're going, yeah, sure. No. Yes. You're used to the long road, the tough road, physical dimension, trying to change things. But reality is created in the other dimensions. Why would you go to the physical dimension to change something that was created in the other dimensions? And that you could go back to the other dimensions to recreate it. Why would you do that? You're not dumb. No, but you don't know. And you think it's too simple. So, and then I'm going to end with this and then we're going to do a mantra. And some of you that know me for a long time may know the story. I met somebody who was a marketing genius. In this country, he was considered a marketing genius. He invented something, which I'm not going to share what it was, and everybody knows what it is. And they go, oh my God. It was a concept applied to a product, but it was only a concept. It was like 3 words that described something, but it was a concept. But it really clicked. So all of you have heard of it, which again, I can't share it. So when I met him, he was very interested in my stuff, whatever. And he said, show me what you do. So I said, okay. I said, we were talking business. I said, so tell me your businesses or tell me a business, give me a question, I'll answer it. So he told me about one of his businesses and he asked me a question. I answered it. Doesn't take long. And then he went, okay, so this other business, I have this problem. And I answered it. So we did like 4 or 5 businesses of his and I answered the questions and he found them totally not just satisfactory. He found them revealing and useful and was going to institute changes based on the information I gave him. He was very impressed. Okay. So he said, okay, Francis, because the reason he was doing this was he was going to try to help me set up my business, my psychic abilities as a business for corporate, whatever, which I do, but I don't do it the way anyway. So he said to me, you have a problem. And I went, okay. He said, what you do is too simple. You can't do that. It's too simple. I said, this is the way I do it. I mean, you ask me a question, I get the answer. Yeah, but you make it too simple. But that's the way it is. And I understand that I'm a very good psychic and other psychics may take a longer road or whatever. But right now we're talking about me and my story. So he said, listen, this is the issue. He said, years ago, there was a nuclear plant that was leaking and it was a national disaster. And the company brought in several people and they couldn't find the leak. And it was a problem. So they brought in this very expensive specialist and he walked around for 5 minutes, kicked a couple of things, and he said, it's right here. And they went, wow, thanks. And it was right there. And so whatever. And then they get the bill for 300 and some $1,000. And they called him and they said, it took you 5 minutes. And he said, yeah, but I got you the information you wanted. Yeah, but you only took 5 minutes. Anyway, I'm sure they paid the bill. The point of the matter is that when you're going to try to find something on the physical dimension, it's the long road. And there are shorter roads in the other dimensions, because in the other dimensions, there's no time factor. In the other dimensions, there's no time factor. Nothing is 6 inches long or 22 feet deep or 12 miles away. Nothing. There's no measurement in the other dimensions. Get that here. And when people say, well, you're such a great psychic, why can't you get the lottery tickets? Because numbers have zero value in the other dimensions. Well, but if you were so good, you would. No, I know what's going on. I mean, you don't know what's going on, but I know, and the numbers are not, it doesn't work because they don't exist in the other dimensions. There's no distance, there's no inches, there's no miles, there's no dollars, $17 versus 37. There's none of that. And everything happens at the same time, which is like wild if you're addicted to the physical dimension. Not easy to wrap your head around. So this man said, you have to go through a process to where it looks more complicated. You have to say, oh, I see what the problem is. I have to go back and study this. And then you go back home and do whatever you want for 2 weeks. And then you send them a letter with the proposal of what you're going to charge. And you already have the answer. But this is what you're going to charge for the answer, which you already had. And you had within 2 minutes of being there. And I went, I don't like that because that feels really dishonest. It's like a manipulation. He said, but you're not going to be able to do it any other way. And in a sense, he was correct because several businessmen found out that if they took me to lunch or dinner with the pretense that they knew my sister or they just wanted to ask me a question, and they would get the answer that would have been a ton of money just over dinner. No, because, oh, okay. And I would say, no, oh, okay. So I don't charge by the hour. It generally works much better to be on retainer and have people call. I answer the question. They don't want me to beat around the bush because they don't have time either. And they're already paying me, so what the heck? It's very different. And those, when we talk about revelations is the lifting of the veils between dimensions, and you're going to be living, and you're already living with the influence of them already. So you might as well start to learn more about them. And this is going to be the simplest place for you to learn. Because I had to learn a lot of this when I was a little kid, and I had to work with scientists and with military, and I had to figure out how to explain to them without them slapping me around. And with them actually getting it. So that they could go ahead and do whatever the heck they were going to do with the information that I gave them. Okay. I did not sketch you before you came in. But this map, by the way, you might want to do it for your family. Find out the different signs. It's very simple. You can find it in 2 minutes on the internet. Draw this. These are female. These are male. And put your family in. And then you may find that all of you guys are really compatible, but your mother-in-law, she's over here. You guys are all here. And then it's like, oh my God, no wonder. It's like a misfit. It's like, how come she doesn't get what the family's doing? She doesn't get it because she's built differently in the other dimensions. She has different influences. What's important to her is different. And then you got the aliens coming in. I don't think they have astrological signs, but spirits that belong to people that used to have a physical body do have astrological signs. And I do think that our pets do too when they were born. So you check it out, check the birth date of your pet, then look it up on the internet. What are the characteristics of a human being with that astrological sign? What's the element? And then check it out with your pet. And you may find it kind of fun, because there's one thing about all this other dimensional stuff. It's kind of fun. You become a detective, and you don't generally have an authority figure. I mean, you can find out about astrology. There could be great people that we consider authority figures. You could belong to a church, but they don't generally do this kind of thing. They're I'm not exactly sure what it is they're doing, other than what I think they might be doing is negotiating for us with the other dimensions having to do with spirits. But other than that, I'm not sure, or maybe there's something that you can hold on to while you are trying to have faith that everything is going to be okay. Buddhism is not a religion, it's a philosophy based on the mind. And so that is what I'm the most comfortable with, but it's not a religion. And they have very clear the concept of not judging, but not because of what people think that Jesus Christ thought, because he was so nice and so sweet. You don't judge people. No, they know that people that are behaving poorly are carrying a dark energy that is helping the rest of us. So don't judge them, because they're doing you a favor. And they know that when something bad happens, it's because it's going to help trigger something good. Whereas the other religions, and they tell you to be nice, and they're not coming from that place. They're coming from a place of, we're great, and those poor people behave poorly, which is really not the rules of the game. It's not it's not what it is that's going on. So anyway, I'm not trying to trash religions. They trash themselves. They don't need any help. But maybe it's because it's time for that to end. This is not a time in which we need for people who don't know any more than we do to be negotiating our relationship with the spirits that are coming from off planet. So I didn't sketch you. So let's sketch you now, and let's do a mantra. I think we're going to continue with the third eye mantra, because it's very important that you develop your third eye. From here down, that's not where it's at. It's here. This is where it's at. Maybe that's why the aliens have such fat heads. I don't know. And such big eyes. But this is where it's at. This is what you have to protect. This is what you have to develop. And this opens up automatically when this opens up, the third eye. So let me sketch you, and then we'll keep going. I'm going back in time. I'm sketching the way you were before I started to talk, because some people say my voice is very soothing and they feel better just listening to me. And that's not the point. The point of these sketches is, so you're kind of okay. You were thoughtful before you came in. You were better than yesterday and much better than the day before. So let's go ahead and do the mantra. We have 10 minutes. We don't have a problem. I don't have anything pending after this. Give me a second while I get the... while I get the mantra. This is the time in which human beings are scheduled to become masters. What is a master? A master is a person that doesn't blame other people for things that happen. A master is a person that goes, why do I need this? What is it that I'm missing, that I don't understand, that I need to do, that this problem is putting in my face so that I have to stop and deal with it? A master does not blame other people. A master does not say, the entire banking system collapsed, and so I have nothing. The master will say, why did I need for this to happen? Put too much money in banking, not enough in this, needed to get out, I didn't want to be here anyway. Whatever it is that the response, why did I need this? How does this benefit me? A lot of people that are ill have very positive benefits from being ill. I'm not being hypocritical. Like the old grandmother that used to come with her autistic grandchild, and she got cancer while I was taking care of the child. And when I asked why she got sick, it was years ago, and I was like, oh my God, she got cancer. And I kind of like the old lady, because I'm a cancer mother, family. And so what my master said was that and you may know the story, that the autistic child was very bratty, and that half of the problems of the kid was that he was a spoiled brat, not that he was autistic. And the grandmother, without being aware of it consciously, asked to become ill so that the family would take some of the attention away from the child and put it on her, which they did. And my master said she's not going to die of cancer because that's not the intention. And she didn't. She got over it. They did whatever they did. She got over it, and the kid was better. So when people get sick, there's a reason. So if you get sick, you have a part of your body that's sick. Why is that part of your body sick? And for that, you have to find out what energy center controls, influences that part of your body. You need to become familiar with that. Oh no, I have asthma. Okay, so asthma is lungs, and lungs are associated with the heart chakra. And the heart chakra has to do with relationships. So what happened to that person that they got asthma in their relationships? Well, now science says, doctors say, well, it's usually, an issue of the child and loss of mother or feeling abandoned or whatever. Yeah, heart connection. But you didn't need for the scientists to take decades to figure that out. You could have just gone, oh, that's the heart chakra. So the asthma is related to the heart. So what's going on with this kid or this adult with the heart? I had a bout of asthma when I sold the home I had lived in for 15 years with political issues. And of course, I was feeling totally abandoned because I did not explain to my family at that point why I was moving. They thought it was just what it is they thought I was doing, I don't know, but I told them I would explain later. I did not want to have to get everybody involved in that because they weren't going to agree with it anyway. And of course, my heart was broken because they abandoned me. But they abandoned me because I wasn't sharing information because I was trying to protect them. But it doesn't matter. So it was an abandonment issue. And so I got asthma temporarily as an adult. So you can cut short your whole process with, even if you stub a toe, every toe is associated with an element. Every element is associated with information about you. Is it your right leg or your left? Because if it's your right leg, it has to do with power. Doesn't matter what toe it is, it has to do with power. Because the right leg channels, in all human beings, male or female, male energy of power. Left leg channels, in all human beings, female energy of wisdom. So it makes it shorter. You go, so which knee bothers you? You're not being supported by men if it's right. You're not being supported by women if it's left. Women don't support me. I support myself. Emotional support. Oh yeah, my mother didn't agree with what I was doing. Okay, makes sense. Or my father didn't agree, or my parents never took care of me, so both my knees are shot, whatever. It's a lot more fun. You become like a detective. Okay, so here we go with the mantra. And we're going to do 10 minutes. We'll go a little bit over the hour. If you need to leave, it's okay. I am half Cuban, and I do tend to talk. It's part of our characteristics. Let's see, with this new platform, here we go. Trying to figure out, let's go deep on this one. I love this one, the whales. Okay. There's sound, but there's no sound. There's sound, but there's no sound. Mute? No, we don't. We're unmuted. Here we go. No. This happened yesterday. Okay, well, go ahead. Let's do 5 minutes without sound. Okay? Hmm. Okay. Can you hear me? And were you able to hear the music? I'm trying to get it fixed. I cannot hear it. Um, so we are finished. We will be back on Monday. And I hope that you're enjoying all the sharing that I'm doing. Okay? Thank you. My name is Frances Fox. And I do hope to become your favorite psychic spy, and you won't hold it against me. How it is that I got into those other dimensions to be able to share this with you, okay? Bye.